Hi, I'm Whack.
Hi, and I'm Pat, and welcome to the 25th episode of the Weekly Orbits for the week ending Friday, October 20th. Wow, can you believe 25 episodes?
Yeah, congratulations. We've been at it for 6 months.
Yeah, if this were the rocket fuel, we'd have like 6 different POAPs going around right now.
Hey, I love my co-ops, okay? So, hey, listen though, this is a special exclusive for Weekly Orbit listeners. I've got the 300th episode coming up, and I'm planning something that hopefully will work out that's going to be really exciting, and it might or might not involve the RPL benefactor. So, exclusive for Weekly Orbit listeners right now.
Wow.
So,
Breaking
let's
news. We're
let's see how it
breaking
works.
news here on the Weekly Orbit this
Yeah.
week.
So the
Wow.
300th episode will be in about 6 weeks' time. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been in touch with the secret benefactor?
I've had a little bit of back and forth, but nothing too much yet. But I'm talking to a couple of other people to try to figure out like a plan and see if it's actually feasible before like really progressing with the idea. So yeah,
Is he or she, is they routing their IP address through like 7 different routers throughout the globe
probably,
to hide their identity?
probably, yeah. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But I think it's someone who's like quite frequently in trading. So I don't know who it is.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's
Well,
get started.
we will have to. I look forward to that. That'd be
Yeah,
great. The benefactor's been good. I like anyone who gives away free stuff and free
exactly.
RPL. I'll take any time. Well,
Yeah.
free, not free, but
Yeah.
usually there's some strings attached. Like you've participated or you're doing this or that, and the benefactor's been very generous. So
Yeah,
we all
it's a
love the
really lovely. One
benefactor.
of my favorite things about the Rocket Pool community, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, love it. So I want to we start today's episode, Whack, with a couple charts. Okay, so here's a chart. All right, doesn't look good. And here's a chart. And do you notice any difference?
They're
They
the
kind of
same
look the
chart.
same. It almost looks like the same chart.
Yeah.
Well, for all our listeners out there who've struggled through this bear market, okay, and you think, oh my God, RPL going down tank, what's going on? Well, guess what? This is LIDO over the last year, and this is Rocket Pool over the last year. And
Yeah.
you can't really tell the difference. It's just down. So
Yeah.
I want to give that as perspective to everyone out there.
So I think what's happened here is that like basically a year ago in around October and November, like with the FTX crash and stuff that happened, that was kind of like the bottom for staking tokens. And then what happened after that point was just that the staking, the withdrawals narrative just kind of went crazy, and everyone was just like eat staking, eat staking, eat staking, and it just really caught a light. And both of those, the two of the bigger protocols that are involved in ETH staking, of course, and they both really rallied into those months after that point. So Rocket Pool rallied big, and the LIDO token, the LDO token rallied as well. And then as that narrative shifted away from, staking, the withdrawals was done, like, the queue was there, everything kind of ground to a halt. That's when they both kind of ran out of steam, and they're both wound down now. So, there's all this talk of like RPL being the death spiral and like the RPL collapse, the Rocket Pool collapsing and like all of this kind of stuff. But if you take a step back and kind of just look what's happening elsewhere, I think it kind of puts it into context that, hey,
Right.
this is bad. Like, it's objectively bad, right? We're down like 65% from the all-time high. And, a lot of people are underwater in their positions, and that's horrible. But if you look at it in the great, like the wider context, it's kind of fitting with other things that are happening in the staking scene. And
Yep.
as disappointing as it is, you can kind of take a little bit of solace from that, and with the idea that as soon as a narrative shift comes back towards staking, which I think there's 3 big catalysts coming for Rocket Pool in 2024. As soon as that kind of happens, then that should hopefully help everything recover again. So
And then the general,
here's
if
hoping.
there's a bear market or if there's a bull market, like a rising tide lifts all boats as well. And
Absolutely, but I'm just saying, like a
yeah,
Rocket Pool
right,
specifically, like there's some really good catalysts coming in 2024 to get us really well positioned for a potential bull market in 24, 25.
right. So for our podcast listeners, these 2 charts, it started it's about a year ago, and it went straight up for both LIDO and both for Rocket Pool. And then it's been a steady decline all the way to today. And
Yeah.
so, as you said, we're down about 65%, but a lot of altcoins, they're down over 90,
And
you know?
yeah, so they had their all-time highs in like 2020, and that's when Rocket Pool had its previous all-time high in USDT and or USD, sorry, and ETH. So it peaked at around $60 in November 2020. November 2021. I'm sorry, at launch. So that was kind of at the peak of the secular bull market as well. That's when ETH, BTC, they peaked at around those kind of ranges as well. So we peaked at around $60 USD, but 0.012345 pretty much on the ratio. And then if you have a look at where we've gone from then, the USD kind of double topped in terms of the dollar amount, but then the ETH amount we went up like 3x pretty much on that against ETH, and BTC of course around the same amount. So that was a really nice move. But now we're kind of back to a little bit like in terms of ETH sense, like kind of around the same area that we were around mainnet launch. So the RPL token's kind of been flat for 2 years in a sense, but there's that period in the middle that kind of gets you, you know what I mean? Like, because that it did so well. But I'm hoping that that's just a sign of things to come, and it kind of shows that the RPL token and Rocket Pool alone has the ability to move in whether it's a bull market or a bear market, because we've seen it move in both of those times now. So I'm really excited for what's going to come, and I think there's some really good stuff ahead next year. By this time next year, I think hopefully things will either be good or start to be getting good.
Right. And I want to thank ZQQ Lander for those wonderful charts.
Yeah.
So talking about RPL price, there's been a lot of volatility this week, with the price. And here's a weekly chart. You can see we had a huge green in the beginning of the week, and then it's been chipping away red. Explain what happened here. Those are some pretty big moves on the upside that we haven't seen in months, and then decline.
The chart that you're looking at is each candle is 1 week. So that is from when RPL was listed on Binance in February, I think. And then we had that little bull, like you've got it on the 1 week setting at the time at the top of the chart. Yeah. So then it's been 26 weeks of bleeding. That's what you're seeing on the right. So that's the double peak into withdrawals, and then the bleeding since then. So what you want to do is you want to go to 1 day chart or the 4-hour chart. But right there, yeah. So that 1 day chart, we'll show you those little there's been little pumps here and there, but the trend is definitely still down. And the technical analysis people will kind of look at those lines of moving averages and stuff, and they'll tell you that as long as you're below those lines, that's kind of a position of weakness. And once you start to get above those lines, that's when you're showing a position of strength. And really, we are kind of weak right now in essence. So it looks like BTC is moving, and then hopefully ETH and then RPL will move around that, and that kind of makes sense with the timing of upgrades that are coming. So I'm hoping that it's not more down, but maybe just sideways for the next 5 to 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they might be down. You never know. But once we get into 2024, then the catalysts that we're waiting for will start emerging, and that will be really good to see, hopefully.
Well, it looks like there's been some traders out there who are shorting RPL and putting pressure. And here's from Binance. The spot borrow rate is almost 115%. That's down. It was 126% yesterday. So explain this. This is putting, I guess, in a bear market, traders, they trade. And they don't care about they don't care about Rocket Pool. They just want to make money on that short-term, daily, weekly basis.
Yeah.
And so they're out there looking for opportunities, and they say, hey, here's a thinly traded token. It's down, just just about everything. And explain this shorting process and what the sell pressure does.
Right. Okay. So the first thing that we have to know is that there's not much volume on the RPL token. So it has $3 to $5 million of trading a day, which when you compare that to ETH, that's $3 to $5 billion a day, right? So that first of all tells you that there's not much trading happening. The second thing that you should know is that there's not much liquidity. So there's not many people who are putting up positions of buying or selling has more of an impact on the price than it would for something like ETH. So that's called slippage. So the more, like the bigger the buy or sell is, the more of an impact it has on the price of the token. Now with RPL, the price, there's not much liquidity, there's not much volume, so sells have more of an impact on the price downturn. So what
And
these
buys do
people
too.
Sorry?
On the upside. I mean, the
Oh, of
opposite
course,
as well.
absolutely. Yeah. We saw that
Right?
with the all-time high, right? There was very thin liquidity, and we just zoomed up the charts like really fast because there was no one who was selling, right? So there was very few people selling. There was demand for buying, so the price just kept going up, which was amazing. But now, like the opposite is kind of happening now, and that is tough to bear. But what's happening is people are seeing that there's a token here which has these characteristics. The narrative themes kind of run out, so it looks like it's in the downtrend. So what do? They will put some collateral down, whether that's ETH or like a stable coin or something, and then they will borrow the RPL token from a lender. Now, when they borrow the RPL token, they don't want to hold it. What they'll do is they'll go and sell that RPL token. So, for example, they'll buy it for $20. What they want to see happen is with them selling and with other people selling, they want the price to go down to $10. So if they borrow 100 RPL tokens at $20 each, that's $2,000. If the price goes down to $10, then they can buy that same 100 RPL tokens back for $1,000, give it back to the place they borrowed the RPL from, get their collateral, they kept $1,000 in their pocket. So that's kind of how shorting works. Now, what's happened is that a whole lot of people are saying, let's short. So the more you short, the less RPL that is available on like places like Binance here to provide to people to sell. So right now there's very, very small amount of RPL available for people to do that. So what happens as there gets less and less amount, Binance starts charging more and more interest because their pool's filled out basically, so they can charge a lot higher. So what you can infer by looking at this 115% is that this is a massively borrowed token. Now on AAVE, they did analysis and they said that most of the people borrowing from AAVE are Rocket Pool stakers, so they will borrow it and then they'll stake it, and that because they don't want RPL exposure, which is fine. That's a totally legitimate position. On Binance, however, it seems like a lot more people are buying the token in order to sell it and try to buy back lower. The reason why this is risky is if the price starts moving up quickly, even like 20, 30, 40, especially like 50 and 100%, then all of these people start having to repay back their loans and they're forced to buy back at a higher price and take the loss. So that is kind of what people are thinking. There's a lot of speculation in the Rocket Pool community now about whether the catalyst for, they call it a short squeeze, whether the catalyst for a short squeeze is possible and whether or not it's going to happen. So a lot of people are paying a lot of close attention to this, but the fact that that interest rate is so high is a huge outlier. Because if you have a look at some of these other tokens around here, I can see like 3%, 15%, 4%, 30%, like, and then RPL of course, and then 5%. I don't think any other token has, well, not many tokens have borrowing percentages that are that high. Like I think it looks like there's a handful of them, but
LIDO's at 6.5%, just as a comparison.
Yeah, so that is not a token that you might say that is being shorted in the same way as the Rocket Pool token is. So those are things that people are really paying attention to now. And there's Luke in the community who's really like kind of banging the drum about this, and he is getting a lot of attention by saying that a squeeze is imminent, and he thinks it's going to have a huge impact on the price. I don't know how it's going to play out. It might take months before it plays out, if it even plays out. And of course, these people can always repay back their loans and get back to safety, kind of like stopping the short squeeze from happening. So it's
and even with all that going on, we're still in line with LIDO. I mean, no one's trying to short LIDO. It doesn't, and we're holding up. So folks out there, don't exit your mini pools and sell your RPL. Not at this point. Hold on. They're trying to attack it, but we're holding up well, and hopefully these people will get short squeezed and will be.
And of course,
just like you said last week. In the bear market, your advice I think was really on point. Whack was just survive. Just survive. Hold it. Hold it. Yeah. You'll get through it.
Yeah.
And we're in this all together.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to some other stats. We hit over 50% of of RPL is staked into the protocol. It's been, if you're looking at the chart, it's been going up from, way back at the original release. We were at, 0, and we are now been just up and to the right to just over 50, closing in on 51%. What does this mean for Rocket Pool, and why should we be excited about that so much is staked?
Like we were talking about the liquidity thing earlier, right? Like one of the things that happens with the tokens that get staked is that there's a barrier to selling them. So people start staking the tokens, and then there's a barrier to selling them, so they just kind of stay staked, and then these become like illiquid. So like you were saying, the only way to sell like your staked RPL is either have over 150% in collateral and you can skim off the top and sell that, or you unwind your position, and in unwinding your position, you then sell your RPL, and that's a huge barrier. It takes like nearly a week to get access to all your tokens and stuff, and it's not. You have to pay gas and all that kind of stuff. So there's a barrier. There are barriers in the way of doing that. So as more and more people stake their RPL, then that means there's fewer and fewer tokens available on the markets, on the exchanges. So then that's the curse of liquidity, right? Like what happens is the price can move downside because there's not enough tokens there that people are selling because it's all staked, and then the same can happen on the upside. So there's not enough people selling their token. Not enough people selling their tokens, so it can move to the upside as well. So that creates illiquid environments, and then that has second order consequences of price fluctuations and volatility. However, like as you go into a bull run, the standard idea is that the more of the token that is staked, the better it is for price upside potential. So the thing is as well, though, as the price moves up, then more and more people go above the 150% collateral. So it means that there's more RPL to then sell into the market. So there's a lot of different dynamics at play, but it seems like we're on a really nice uptrend of staking amounts, and I really think that 2024 is going to be a year where that number's going to jump up a lot more as well. So I'm really excited to see that.
Awesome. So on to our next stat. We also had another milestone. We've got over 25,000 Minipools as of this morning, 25,046. And that's a nice milestone. Any thoughts on 25K?
Yeah, it's nice. We've kind of been flirting with this number for a while. So what happened is, we had a bunch of people exiting and like entering and all that kind of stuff, but it kind of like there's a churn. But it seems like we've been kind of stable at this 25,000 mark for like a week or so now, and it's kind of like harmony, which is kind of like where we are with like the beacon chain as well. And Ethereum has kind of reached harmony with entry and exits. Pretty much it's like slow uptick, and that's the same with validators here as well. But again, there's a lot of catalysts coming online in 2024 that will really, I think, help that number grow a lot by the end of next year. So that's going to be really cool. But I wouldn't be surprised if, we very, very slowly moved up in the next 3-6 months, basically. Like maybe by end of December or like February, we might just be like 26,000, maybe even 25,000. There's even the chance that we'll be a little bit lower, but I think kind of in this range. I don't think, there's going to be too much fluctuation. But then by the end of next year, I think, that number is going to be more than double, like way more than double.
All right, on to the next.
Yeah.
We got a couple governance proposals at AAVE, and one is regarding the ETH pool parameters, and then the other one is about RPL borrow. So I won't go into detail, but what's the TLDR on these two governance?
So this, the main news out of the other, this one that you've got on the screen right now isn't really that relevant to our ETH. This is about ETH and wrapped ETH, but what they want to do, So what's happening is that they're trying to change the parameters for borrowing ETH to make folding more profitable. So this is going through the governance process right now. Another thing that's going through the AAVE governance process is that they want to swap 500 ETH of their treasury into our ETH, which is really cool. And then finally, this thing that we have on the screen right now is about increasing the borrow cap for the RPL token on AAVE, because they have a supply cap, 840,000, and then the borrow cap was set to 160,000, but we were like really hitting the limit of that, and then there was more demand, so they are increasing that by 50% to 240,000 because they think, and it's already started being used because there's demand for people borrowing RPL. Now, there was some worries that people would use it to short, but I think a little bit of a closer look shows that people tend to go to AAVE more to stake rather than to short. But I'm sure that some people from AAVE will be shorting as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that added 80,000 RPL is going to impact the markets in the coming weeks.
Okay, on to our next item. A little tidbit from Joe. He dropped into Discord and said that I'll be helping the NodeSet guys build some of their stuff that interfaces with Rocket Pool at least until delivery day because I'm a goddamn lunatic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. For a new protocol like NodeSet, one of the things you worry about is, well, what happens if there's a bug, and do I have confidence in the team? Does Nick S and Wanderer, are they good coders? And it gives you a sense of confidence that Joe is going to be part of that team and who's intimately familiar with Rocket Pool, how it works, considering that NodeSet is built on top of Rocket Pool. And so I think this is a shot of confidence, I think, for the NodeSet team. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a huge coup for them. Joe is extremely well respected in the Rocket Pool community, and by having Joe attached to their project, it's definitely going to add legitimacy. So one of the things that we should know is that Joe is the developer of the Smart Node stack, which means that he'll be probably building the interface between the NodeSet contracts and then the Rocket Pool contracts. They'll all be designed by Solidity devs that work with NodeSet. And they've got like a team of Solidity devs. So they'll be writing the contracts, and Joe will basically be making the software that kind of latches onto the Smart Node stack. Now, Joe literally is writing the Smart Node stack from scratch, and he knows there's no one in the world who knows the Smart Node stack better than Joe. So you don't want anyone but Joe writing the sidecar that will then get integrated on the Smart Node stack. So this is a huge vote of confidence. Of course, everything will have to go through audits and like all that kind of security measures, especially on the smart contract side. But this is a coup, I think, for NodeSet, and I think it has a lot of people like happy about NodeSet.
Yeah, and Joe, it's not like he's not busy enough, and he's taken on this extra work, and so hats off to him. Yeah. Thanks for doing that for all of us. Okay, on to the next thing. Our last three items here are about the GMC. So our first slide is the GMC. They're trading in some RPL for some LUSD, and then you've got. Actually, this next item is there was the AMA this week, and the little tidbit that came out of here was that the smart senior developer is finally coming on board. It's been a lot of talk about over the last few months. The senior developers, it's like, oh, when do they come? When are they coming? Because they need help. Monday, the senior developer starts on Monday. So,
which is actually Sunday US time.
Or Sunday, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So any thoughts on, well, first, we're trading in some RPL for LUSD for the Treasury. Any thoughts on that first?
Yeah, so this was an initiative spearheaded by Dondo, who's a member of the GMC, who realized that, as Rocket Pool matures, we'll be getting a lot more grant applications from people who don't want RPL, right? They want dollars. They'd like to help RPL with the service that they'll provide, but they have no long-term alignment or allegiance to RPL. They've got their staff to pay, they've got bills to pay, they want stable coins, they want dollars, right? That's kind of like what the idea is. So the GMC, he suggested that we should be diversifying our portfolio, and one of the things that we should be doing is to do a monthly swap for 20% of our income that comes from the inflation, the PDAO, and putting that into a stable coin. The idea is that that will go to LUSD, which is Liquidity's USDT token, which is a fully decentralized, permissionless, immutable stablecoin that is based on Ethereum collateral only. So it's a very pure stable coin, by crypto standards in that sense, if you're Ethereum aligned. And there's some issues about like price fluctuations and stuff. So, we've got a caveat in there saying if the price fluctuates too much, then we will get USDC instead that month. But the idea is basically we'll be spending around 550 RPL, something around that number every month on buying LUSD, just so we can give it out to people who apply for grants. And they ask for that. Are you there?
Okay. So 20% of the treasury is going to be put into LUSD. Is that about it? Is that the goal?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then our senior developer, we'll find out more about that, I guess, this week, and who it is and what their responsibilities will be. But I'm just happy that they've got someone else there working, because I know the whole team is maxed out.
Yeah.
And finally, this is something close to your heart. The nominees for the GMC, this 1-year term starting November, have been chosen. And, well, the nominations have been chosen, I should say. There's 10 total. I think there's 9 on the... Is
12.
it 9? Or 12, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the nominees are listed on the screen. Those people will have to write why they should be picked. And so we've got a fresh batch, some coming back, and some new faces. What are your thoughts? You're on the GMC.
Yeah, so we're just finishing our first stint, the first year. We've made huge improvements, like operationally. We've given out hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is amazing. We, like me personally on Rocket Fuel, but also us together as part of the weekly orbit, are recipients of grants from the GMC, which is wonderful. So thank you to the GMC for that. But also, it's really rewarding that we can give back to people who work on Rocket Pool, and like that's such an important thing. So I loved my time on the GMC, and I was really happy that Shifrin nominated me. Like, you can nominate yourself as well, but like anyone can nominate anyone, and Shifrin nominated me for another stint on the GMC, which I gladly accepted, and I was really honored that that happened. There are a few faces, like you said, that are coming back. So, we'll have a nice continuity between the first cohort and the second cohort, hopefully, if everyone gets elected again. And then after that, there's a few new faces for the GMC, but not new faces in the Rocket Pool community. So there are a few people here who, I've met in person, who I've had great conversations with, who I've worked with on other things, and I'll be really happy to see them on the GMC. So people have already started giving in their statements, which is what they have to kind of sell themselves to the community, and then people will read those statements and then vote based on that. So we have 12 nominees, we have 9 spaces, so people will then vote for the people that they want on the GMC. So
the whole PDAO will be voting?
So okay. It'll be a snapshot vote, and once the current vote on the RPIT 4 goes through, then we'll be talking, that will be one of the next votes that comes up. So it's really exciting. I already put my statement through. It's like the next post, I was like, I did it right away. And then there's a couple of other statements that have come in as well. So it's nice that people are starting to, present themselves to the community, and then they'll be voting soon. Hopefully, maybe in 2 weeks' time. I think.
When are the statements due?
Tomorrow, I think, is the deadline.
Tomorrow?
So if
that would be October 21st.
Get it done ASAP.
Yeah, get it done. So the nominees are Dundo Chaka, Joe, RPL Maxi, Whack, of course, Dr. Drufus, Feeling Good, Feeling Great, Destroya, Looking for Owls, Find Your Moon, Epineph, Ken, and Rocknet. So next few days, take a look at the forum, read over their statements, because there'll be a vote coming up, and then you'll be choosing your slate of GMC members for the next 12 months.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah, please, read those statements, and you're welcome to, I think, ask any of the nominees questions about how they intend to, distribute grants, or what their philosophy about that is. Everyone's really nice who I've talked to, and I think it's going to be a really cool thing.
Yeah, great. Well, that wraps up this week's show, Whack. Of course, none of this is financial advice. Thanks for all watching and listening. We appreciate you chiming in the hopefully the final stages or the final phase of the bear market, you're just survive, like Wax says. There are good times ahead, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Wack.
Thanks. See you next time.
Bye-bye.